Hello. The blackbird wants to say hello. Hello. It is the 5th of August already the 5th of August. And today at 5:19 this morning, the sun transited into gate 7. This is the gate of the self, the role of the self in interaction, and it's also called the army. So gate 7, it marks the start of a new quarter of the wheel. The first quarter of the wheel, initiation, is subtitled Purpose Fulfilled Through Mind. Civilization, which is the quarter we've just traveled through, this is purpose fulfilled through form. The fourth quarter is called the quarter of mutation, and that is purpose fulfilled through transformation. And here, in this quarter here, for the next 3 months or so, we are in the quarter of duality. And this has the theme of purpose fulfilled through bonding. This is the world of fertility and union and different expressions of the way that we relate with others. So we have gate 7 in this. It's in the G center. It's a Sphinx gate, and it's in the G center. Now, you may remember from the beginning of the last quarter that all of the quarters begin with a Sphinx gate. Okay, these are the gates of direction. They give us that general theme of the direction of each of the quarters. Gate 7 is in logical circuitry. So already we know that the quarter of duality begins with that logical theme. Okay, bonding should have a certain logic to it. If only. And logical circuitry is always about the future. And so this is a logical direction that leads us into the future. There's a point of logic where patterns have been tested over and over and can be relied upon. And this is that point. This is where it gets delivered into the role of the self, for it to sort of become part of the identity, if you like. And this is also often known as the power behind the throne. Oh, you need to see that. You see that one in a minute. So it is significant, really, that these roles of the self, the roles that we play out, are unaware. The G center is not an awareness center. The role of the self is genetic, it's mechanical. It's not a mental position, and it does not respond to any concepts of role. However, the conditioning power in this gate is enormous, and it has really had profound effects on our collective history. It is a collective gate. The 31 at the other end of the channel, that is the gate of influence. But the direction and the role of the 7 is very often the power behind the throne. And the 2 examples that Ra used to use were Bill Clinton with his 31 and Hillary Clinton with the 7, or Nehru with the 31 and Indira Gandhi with the 7. These are sort of classic examples, really, of democratic role conditioning, because the 7 in both of these cases was in line 2, both with Hillary and with Indira Gandhi. Say Hillary like I know Hillary Clinton and Indira Gandhi, both in the line 2, which is the line of democracy, as we'll see as we go through these lines through the week. So above the lines in the I Ching, it says the point of convergence. By design, the need for leadership to guide and order society. So this tells you right away it's guiding. It's a projector gate. This has this quality of guidance, and also that it needs to be invited. You know, true leadership and true power here is something that is recognized and invited out. So this is highlighting also the importance of the logical process and the importance of understanding for the stability and the security of the species. You know, in other words, it is absolutely essential for us that we have logical leadership that is also reasonable. And of course, given the way that our genetics operate and the way in which the lines operate, we have different variations of what that role can be. The gate of the role of the self is one of the 6 role gates. And it's one of 8 gates of profiling based on the 6 role gates, together with the 50th hexagram and also the 6th hexagram. This is one of the Sphinx gates, as I said, and essentially in many ways it is really the most influential of them. This is a gate that leads to the gate of influence, after all. Part of the study of human design looks at the prenatal infrastructure. And through this, we can learn that this channel, the 731, this is the first channel that is initiated in the development of a human being. So this channel has particular importance to the Homo sapien intransitus. When you look at the circuitry of logic, then you can see the deep limitations that are built into the logic system, even though it is so important to us. The limitation is that it's very difficult for logic to get access to energy. The logic system from the throat, it doesn't have direct access to a motor. The throat to the G center goes through the 731, or the splenic center, the 4816, but neither of these are a motor. Which is why we end up in logic with so many committees, so many discussions, so many boards overseeing all sorts of things, so much research going on. Experimentation is the goal of the logical process. And unlike the 13th gate, which is there to look backwards and to accumulate past experiences for the advantage of society, the 7th gate is looking into the future. The point of convergence, it says. This is a place where the future of humanity comes to a point. It is a very important point for us. Humanity needs the security of safe and reliable patterns. Logical circuitry is all about patterns, and it goes through the splenic system, whereas the abstract side goes through the emotional system, experiences or feelings and all of that kind of thing all happens there. Whereas in logic, we have the splenic system. It's a little bit cooler. It's the cooler side, and it's all about security and safety. So that tells you that logic has those as part of its raison d'etre, if you like. Humanity needs security and safety, and it needs its patterns to be reliable. And humanity also must realize that society is hierarchical. It's just the way things are. We might like to think we live in an equal society, in an egalitarian, is that the right word? Egalitarian society, but we don't. And humans by nature are very hierarchical, and society needs to be ordered. The gate of ordering is also part of logical circuitry. It needs to be ordered and it needs to be guided. And there are those who guide and those who are guided. And there are those that you order and those who are ordered. It's the nature of the logical way that the pattern is built on, this hierarchical structure. So gate 7, it establishes a pattern, and because of the pattern being for the future, if that pattern can become expressed, then it can also become influential. The logic system is there to provide us with secure patterns. Unfortunately, unless those patterns are rigorously and properly tested and experimented with, we can always end up with difficulties. And then society can be kind of shocked into a state of chaos. You know, it can slip into chaos because without that reliable pattern, things can fall apart. So then humanity in that sense can be shocked by a pattern that appeared to operate properly. But then when it gets to its sort of maximum experimentation, suddenly it turns out, oh, we didn't spot that. And the whole thing then disintegrates, and then there are big problems. So even though the 7th gate is there to provide us with a secure pattern for the future, it doesn't mean the pattern is necessarily going to work out in the long term. And in a way, we can't possibly know these things. Our lives are so small that to be able to say with certainty, yes, this pattern is absolutely going to guarantee humanity as it goes into the future, can't do that. There's no way of doing that. So we get to a certain point where we think, oh, well, that's got to be good enough. And of course, sometimes a little bit further down the line, it's not. this is kind of what the individual role does. You know, it knows that only time can really be the truly can be the true test of a logical system. Yeah, but the logical system is desperate to get its things out into the world. It's desperate to get the energy for its experiment, or the energy for anything, all of it. It's all its material stuff. It just wants that, and energy often equates to money. So it will be the money for this laboratory in order to set up this experiment, in order to do all these tests and make sure that it works. And the moment that an experiment works, it doesn't mean we should also then jump on the bandwagon and yeah, let's go for it. It has to be tested again and again and again. So the nature of the role of the self in interaction, the role of leadership for humanity, it comes through 6 variations. And these are the authoritarian, the diplomat, the anarchist, the abdicator, the general, and the administrator. And we will explore each of these roles over the next 6 sessions from here as we go through the lines and we follow the sun as it goes through. Yay. So the earth. We have the earth. You've seen that one. There we go. The earth. So the sun is in gate 7 and the earth there is in gate 13. This is the grounding force for our role of the self for the army. Of course, we know it's Sphinx gate, so therefore it's also in the G center. They're sharing the G center across of the Sphinx. It's to do with direction, and this is to do with the past. This is the fellowship of man. This is the gate of the listener. It's rather wonderful, really, that the gate of leadership is grounded in listening, or the gate of the role of the self. This isn't leadership, actually. Excuse me, I just need to check something. Because I think 31, where it's pointing, is actually called the gate of leading. It is. It's a leadership gate. All of these channels between the G center and the throat, particularly the 731 and the 1333, they are leadership channels. They have leadership roles. So it is a gate of leadership anyway. So the gate of listening grounds one of the gates of leadership. It's a nice idea, isn't it? The role of the self is grounded in the fellowship of man. I mean, it could almost give you hope for our politicians and things, couldn't it, really? Almost. Let's not get carried away. So, how are these gates landing with you? How are these themes landing with you? Do you have gate 7 in your design as a consistent activation? Maybe you're on the Sphinx and you have the 7 and its grounding of 13. If you do you resonate to being the power behind the throne, the whisperer to the powers of be, having influence? Now, maybe it's something you can look back on and see in your life where you did actually hold a position that enabled you to whisper in the ear of somebody who was in power. And that could be the assistant to the manager. I mean, we don't have to be talking on the global scale of power dynamics. So what might you reflect on during this transit? Well, are there logical patterns in your life that you see repeating over and over, but that somehow lack the energy for completion or expression? Have you sometimes offered a logical solution for something only to find that actually it hadn't been tested enough and it falls flat? And maybe you have your own reflections to make during this 7th gate transit, or maybe not, maybe you're also just happy to sit in the energy of this gate and see what happens. There's no right or wrong way to play this transit game. However it is unfolding, I hope you are having fun with it. It is a projector gate. As I said, both sides, the earth and the sun here, both projector gates. I invite you to sit with these energies and see how they land with you. And if it feels correct for you to do so, I invite you to share your reflections or your observations at this point. Thank you very much for joining me, and I look forward to seeing you again quite shortly as we dive into gate 32. and I learn how to speak English before I come back into the recording. Gate 7, line 1. And yeah, I will see you again then. So until that point, go gently and take care. Bye-bye.